Mr. Vithoulkas. How are you today?
Hey, Dr. Rivers, how are you?
I'm fine.
Can you hear
me?
Councilman Myers.
Hi,
Hey, how
Mr.
you doing?
Meyer. Hi. Nice to
Good.
actually meet you.
Nice to meet you and see you.
Quasi meet you. Yes, with this virtual world.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, you guys have been two of our biggest and most reliable supporters on the municipal side. So I'm not just saying that. It's actually kind of good that you're the first two here. And that's indicative of that. So thank you guys for that. And I know I only want to keep everyone until 4 if we need to stay that long. But I really think that the reason that Go Virginia had us to create this is because they want to have some meaningful dialogue. And I'm excited about the opportunity for us to have some meaningful dialogue and for us to perhaps catalog what may be some strategies that could be utilized region-wide in order for us to make a long-term difference. Like I wanted to, and I think that they wanted to utilize this as a way to purposefully share best practices and to maybe even come up with a way to promote minority entrepreneurship in the region. I might be speaking a little bit more than what they articulated for me, but I'm assuming that since this was really their only main insistence when we submitted our application, that is what their thoughts are. So I see that we have joining us now, we have Mr. Jonathan Young and we have Dr. Milton Faison. Dr. Faison is the Vice President of Research and Economic Development at VSU. And I also see that we have Jonathan Young, he's the Director of Industry Relations. Hello, Mr. Stoke. How are you?
Good, how are you all?
Fine, thank you so much for everyone coming. So
I would love to have this on campus.
I know we're getting there. We're getting there. We have this half or maybe 3/4 vaccinated world. So hopefully we're getting there. As long as the Delta variant stays in Europe. So that's what I'm hoping. So what I'd like to do today is, and I've already done a little bit of this, perhaps I should have waited. I mean, I wanted to give you an idea of why Go Virginia has decided to ask us to do this. And I actually think that they want to create meaningful dialogue, obviously to spur minority entrepreneurship region-wide and share best practices. But I also have to tell you that I think that they want to see if there is a different approach to some of the strategies that we've employed before. So there are these groups. I've noticed that the rural areas need specialized assistance, and I've seen that in some of the Go Virginia applications. And the minority entrepreneurs in really most of the regions need some specialized assistance, really just because of I think the industrial development of our state. And the economic development in our state. So I know like the rural areas, a lot of them don't have infrastructure. Manufacturing is what a lot of them relied on. Manufacturing has begun to leave. We've shifted to kind of a business services economy. And so then they need to consider entrepreneurship and other types of ways to generate income. And the minority groups typically have a dearth of wealth, regardless of educational level attainment and employment levels. And so I just think that what they want us to do is to talk about what each one of the municipalities is actually implementing now. And I think it's okay for you not to have anything that's special, given the demographics in our region. They tend to be very diverse, but for us to talk about things that you are considering, and then for you to talk amongst your peers about other strategies that they have implemented successfully or are thinking about. So with that, I wanted to ask everyone, I'm sure everyone here knows each other, but I was going to ask everyone to introduce themselves. And then for after everyone introduces themselves, I wanted each one of you to talk about what your municipality is doing now or intends to do to spur minority entrepreneurship. So, you know, we don't have to start with me because I think I'm Dr. Patrice Perry-Rivers. I'm an associate professor of strategic management, actually, and my research focuses on entrepreneurship. My PhD is actually in strategy and organizational theory, but all my research is focused on minority entrepreneurship and corporate social responsibility. I am the founding director of the VSU Center for Entrepreneurship, and now I am the director for the Minority Small Business Launch Center program that we are implementing through the College of Business. And I'm a former entrepreneur, and I'm a child of an attorney who was in private practice for years and who had to run her own business. And so I have entrepreneurship in my blood. And so I'd like to ask everyone else to introduce themselves if they would. Mr. Vitolkas, could I ask you first, because your picture's the first one on my screen.
Oh, okay. So my name is John Vitolkas. I'm the Henrico County Manager. I am in my 9th year as the manager, 25 plus as an employee in some form or fashion of Henrico. And I'm a member of Go Virginia, the board that made the recommendation for this grant. But, when you were presenting, there is so much in what this proposal is and can be. So where our government has been focused is on the employee side and on the service side. And a lot of emphasis, if you will. I just spent a good portion of my day with a large group of interns on that we are bringing in and have brought in. So Henrico is I'm sure most of you all know, I grew up in Henrico, spent most of my life here, and Henrico today is a much different community, much more diverse, much more business savvy than we were a number of years ago. And so the idea of minority entrepreneurship incubators, something that the county can do to facilitate and foster more participation, more inclusion, I think is something that appeals personally, and I know will appeal to our elected body. But it's something that so I'm going into this with not just with what can I personally do to help you, but it really is to take this idea also and see what we can do with it, on a larger county scale. So I'm a student, if you will.
Okay, sure. And I think one of the things that I was thinking about before our meeting is that informing people about what you already provide is a first step that everyone can take, regardless of any specific programs. And so what I would like to do later with each of you is to, well, probably not with you, Mr. Vitokos, probably with your economic development director. But I want to find out what specific services that your county has to offer for all entrepreneurs. And then I can make that information available to the minority entrepreneurs who come to our program for assistance. So I believe it's Mr. Romanello, is that?
That's correct. That's right.
So
Yeah.
I will touch bases with him and all of the other economic development directors as well for an individualized interview. So we'll have a permanent, quasi-permanent, obviously we can update it, but we want to have a video interview that summarizes your services for entrepreneurs that will feature on our site. I was going to take a moment and share with you guys our new site for the Minority Small Business Launch Center. So we officially have been in operation, I guess, since 5th. And so this is what we've created so far, which is a place where we summarize our programs. Let me minimize this. But people can go and they can enroll for free. They can watch a video about the Center for Entrepreneurship at as you, but it just summarizes what we offer and then really why we're here. So it talks about the student faculty-led technical assistance, the growth and certification training, access to co-working space, etc. And then also all of the other resources that they'll have access to and what we intend to do. It also has an executive summary of our program here. The one that was approved by Go Virginia, there's just a simple executive summary of that there. And again, another place for people to enroll. This site is something that will be consistently updated to include any specific programs that we offer, and then also to include a link to the portal where people will be able to access their training, as well as where they'll be able to watch videos about what our various supporters have to offer. So you just gave me a segue into that, but thank you for sharing that with all the rest of us. Who else would like to introduce themselves? I'm sure everyone knows each other, but who would like to go next?
Okay.
Okay, sure. Please.
Jeff Stoke, I'm the Deputy County Administrator, Director of Economic Development and Tourism for Prince George County. Speaking a little bit about what we do as far as minority, it is weak and needs to be improved. I guess pre-COVID, we were doing, of course, the Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity Programming. We'd actually invite speakers down to our library and have them talk. Of course, we do program email blasts to all of our businesses, which we have a business list. I was attending VSU seminars, always looking to connect to the VSU community. I've been in Jonathan Young organized events several times through the years. In fact, I guess I've signed up for the September 8th coming up this fall, going to be in person. And Lauren Siddell, who I believe has both a dual role at VSU and CCAM, we're starting the FAME, the Federation of Advanced Manufacturing Engineering, at CCAM and Richard Bland College, and they're trying to find students for this fall. And it's pre-college sort of internship, getting students out of high school. And it's the region is the whole region, the whole Tri-Cities, the whole Richmond region, connecting those businesses. It is a little bit of a pay to play. And then the business would then select the student, put them in the classes. So it'd be a certain amount of days in the classroom, certain amount of days on the floor of the business.
Okay. That's exciting. And,
Yeah.
I think that that's a really good opportunity. And I think that one of the things that we've realized is that giving students the opportunity to explore entrepreneurship, which is, entrepreneurship within an existing corporation, is a way to get them to think about innovation. And that's something that could help them to consider entrepreneurship at some point in the future. So I think that that's interesting. And then Lauren he's been a wonderful supporter and helper even on this application. And I think since you're working with him and with Jonathan, then I'm happy to work with you in the future. I wanted to ask you, Mr. Meyer, if you could go next.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm W. Howard Myers. I'm the former mayor and current councilman here in the city of Petersburg. On my side job, I'm W. Howard Myers Enterprises, LLC. I operate an incubator facility over in the old Brown and Williamson manufacturing building, which we now house Metropolitan Business League, who has now come to Petersburg all the way from Richmond. Was there, Jonathan was there, and a few others were there, and we were happy to have the ribbon cutting to welcome them aboard here in the city of Petersburg. And hopefully, as we all branch out, it will affect the entire region as well. And it's all about growing our young entrepreneurs and helping them to grow to large business formats. So thank you all for having me in this meeting.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I want to see if we have any other municipal leaders here. I think that you are the 3 municipal leaders that we have in our meeting today. And so that's really good. So I wanted to ask you guys if you have considered any specific programs that do target explicitly minority entrepreneurs, or if you would consider such programs. I am not privy to any limitations that could be imposed upon you based upon the source of funds. Like there could be some sort of federal parameters, if there's federal money or state money that limit you from targeting specific groups, et cetera. But would you be interested in research perhaps on best practices across the country in that regard? Is there something that you're thinking about doing specifically? Yes, Mr. Vitokos, were you gonna?
Yeah, let me touch that. So our focus has pretty much been on suppliers, diversity in procurement and making sure. And so we've had more and more success. And right now, I think we're outpacing what the Commonwealth is doing, because we've hired some folks just for that effort. But yes, and I would not use any other source in Henrico other than the local dollar. And the reason I suggest that is because that's what gives you the most flexibility. So we have set up a number of efforts on the economic development side, and I'll make sure Anthony gets you all of the everything that we are putting forward. But we're getting ready to come out with an initiative, just as an example, as to why I say, the local dollars are the most flexible, with a local, basically a local enterprise zone. We're putting our own spin on it, but it's funded purely with local dollars, and it allows us to do some things for businesses as far as facade grants, parking lot improvements, physical improvements to businesses, that if we were to use a federal dollar or a state dollar, we get into some more complexity. And so, I am coming into this, and I say it again, with the thought of, I want to come out of it, what I want some benefit for the county, for our businesses. And so, no, we have not done anything like this in the past, where we target a specific community. But, on the service side, we are targeting specific communities all the time, whether it's health or social services or recreation, or so there's no qualm or hesitation. In fact, there's a little bit of excitement that I have, and I don't get excited about a whole lot of things.
Okay, well, that's a good thing.
I just want to point out that John is very diplomatic, and that he described federal dollars as complicated. I could think of a few other choice words.
I understand. Okay, but this is all very good. Mr. I guess, Mr. Stoke, I was going to ask you the same question, if you'd be interested in any benchmarking research to find out best practices across the U.S. and regions perhaps similar to ours. What would you like to take away from what we're trying to accomplish here? I don't know if you can hear me. Mr. Stoke, can you still hear me?
There we go. I was muted.
Okay.
At its very core, the goal here is to find students jobs and to continue that pipeline from VSU into the workforce, whether that be an existing workforce or whether they create the job by themselves. That's the pipeline I'm looking for. It has started a little bit with CCAM. There are VSU interns in CCAM. VSU has a very unique advanced manufacturing engineering degree, which fits into a lot of the major businesses in our community. And the question is, how do we continue taking those steps at VSU in order to not only have it just for the engineering students, but quite frankly, for all students, including the business students?
Mhm.
How do we continue that bridge and that pipeline from VSU to the business community? That's what I'm looking for out of this.
Okay.
Because I have businesses, it doesn't matter if it's a small business or a large business, they are literally screaming for workforce, for educated, competent, show up on time workforce. They can't find it anywhere. And you being a university, what a great hotbed of workforce. Basically, any student that graduates, you could write your own ticket. So let's get them out there.
So you're looking at really trying to develop programs that would help funnel the students at VSU with appropriate majors into businesses that exist in your community. Is that
Not only,
okay.
yes, not only that, but students that wish to create their own businesses, helping them succeed, getting them with the Virginia Department of Small Business to write business plans, get marketing assistance, legal assistance. We actually had a Department of HUD program similar to this in New York, where we helped those entrepreneurial people start their own business. And there was classes at SUNY Delhi at the university in the evenings. And there was marketing assistance and legal assistance and writing the business plan. And we actually help these people start their own small businesses. And there's going to be a component of students at VSU that want to do that.
There is. And you know, what's so interesting is that the entrepreneurship rate in the whole United States is very low in the scheme of the total population. So, you know, it hovers around 6% or so, and that's for the total population. But then when you look at the other groups individually, if you segment everybody out by race, that's when you really see a disparity. And so that's really why we create this program. We already know that there are already fewer people, period, that want to take the risk to start their own business, but even fewer of them tend to be minorities. So it's really good to hear what you guys are focused on, because perhaps in some of our programming, we can seek to partner with you to create what you're looking for, at least for the existence of our Go Virginia grant, period. Or add on to what you're already doing in some meaningful way. So for example, you could funnel people from Prince George County through our programming, and then obviously they can all enroll for free. There's some other things that we'll think about and brainstorm after I've kind of gathered all of the notes from this meeting so that we can have something that's really meaningful. And Mr. Meyer, did you want to share what you would like to derive from this program and then also from this whole discussion about spurring minority business development?
No, I'm pretty much agree with most of what has been said. You know, I certainly want to be able to provide individuals who might be interested in going into their own business. As I said, I've got a plethora of individuals who have started their own business who want to learn more and how to grow their business. And certainly what Mr. Stokes said earlier, you know, opportunities for persons to learn how to market and to promote themselves, you know, in this aspects. And a lot of it does not come easy, and it's not simple common sense all the time, but to have some form of resource in order to help build and grow their business as they continue to grow, and particularly on the financial side of it, and how to apply for loans and apply for grants that might be applicable to growing their business and keeping them financially sound so that they can hire other individuals to come in. The workforce definitely is really a plus if you can have that human capital to continue to move your business forward, because right now it's hard for small business and even big business to maintain good employees moving forward. So I think creating a more of a robust workforce and educational program to help people get back into the workplace, I think is quite important with respect to this. And I just want to throw in here for Mr. Vitolkas, I think, hopefully I pronounced your name correctly, but I grew up in Henrico in the summertime, used to catch snakes and tadpoles up there. So that's kind of, just wanted to let you know that I love Henrico. It's come a long way since the country. and I used to be up the country. So
Now,
thank you.
Mr. Myers, where'd you grow up?
On Derbyshire Road.
Okay, yep.
Yes,
That's not
sir.
country anymore.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Thank you all.
Yeah, and I think this is really good. No, thank you. Thank you for coming. And I think it's important, you know, for regional development for you guys to know each other and get to interact at some level. Anyway, I'm sure there are many other opportunities. And so I'm really glad that we have the opportunity to do this. You know, what I'd like to be able to do is to, when we have these brief triannual meetings, is I would like to catalog everything that we come up with. And then after we leave, really try to figure out a way to build upon with each of you the programming that you already are offering or seek to offer. One of the other things that I had hoped to develop that we might be a little far out from now is some sort of guide for minority business owners that would summarize the resources available to them in the different municipalities in the region, obviously including yours. Is that something that you think would be a valuable tool or one that you would want to utilize?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe so. Yes, they do need a resource map. Yes, indeed.
And we'd be happy to put it on our website and get it out there. We actually have business roundtables that will be starting back up in the spring.
Okay, that's exciting. Mr. Stoke, you're the one that indicated that you have your business roundtables that are starting back up in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We're going to go live and in person. We tried to have it via Zoom. Nobody wanted to do Zoom. So we've targeted January of 2022 to look at starting again an in-person business roundtable event.
And so then perhaps what we'd be able to do before then is to try to come up with some sort of resource that is available on our site and that you guys could put on your sites that would be able to summarize what people have access to through your municipalities and in this program. So I'll be working on that with the students and the admin support team that we are trying to build for this Minority Small Business Development Center. Is there anything else that you would like to see us do? That was just an idea that I had thought of and an outcome and deliverable that I thought would be useful when it was recommended that we create this advisory board. But is there anything else that you could think of that you believe is important for us to accomplish as an advisory group?
Dr. Rivers, I think you and I have some time later, but I would like to, at your suggestion as well, bring in our economic development director and maybe set something up on Zoom but I really think this this effort that you're starting, there's an opportunity that exists in our county. And I want to, whether it's part of this group or not, start laying out a bit of that framework, because we're not really good at talking a whole lot in Henrico. We're more about doing. It's just the group that we have. And so I'm looking to get something tangible to put forward. And when first time I saw when you made that Go Virginia presentation, I was convinced, and I'm even more convinced now, that Virginia State has some resources that we can absolutely tap into.
And so I know that I'll get the opportunity to meet with you coming up soon, but what we've done is we've actually come up with a proposal based on our initial meeting that has some ideas in there that we want you to consider. And that is completely flexible, that would be customized to what we could do to partner specifically with Henrico. And then obviously we would like to do that with Petersburg. We work with Petersburg all the time, you guys, and we work with Prince George County all the time, and we work with Henrico too. But in terms of this program, we'd like to perhaps come up with specific programs that could be implemented in your county that would allow us to meaningfully collaborate for this specific effort. So Some of the things that we're doing now, I just want to give you guys an update on what we're doing with the Minority Small Business Launch Center. I know that I showed you guys our site that has just a summary right now of what we are going to do on it. And we've also created this enrollment form for everybody to enroll. But we've also begun to create another sub-site that will be linked and displayed on this program, where people will be able to complete their small business. It's called a Pro Small Business Launch Certification. And so we're working on it still. I can actually show you what we're working on right now. But people will be able to earn a certificate, but the certificate is a meaningful one because they're going to go through this business launchpad training, which really takes them through some very specific steps. And this is a resource that I had worked on developing over time from various resources that I had tried to gather when I was teaching my entrepreneurship students and when we had to work with entrepreneurs. And so there was a small business development center in Arizona that had a really good format, but was outdated and needed some updating and revision and some refocusing and electronic spreadsheets. And so that's what we've done with this. And so people will kind of be able to go through the whole process of really assessing their entrepreneurship orientation and potential, where they kind of assess their own personal objectives. You know, do they have to have a specified amount of vacation time? Are they willing to go without pay for a period of time if necessary? All these sorts of things, you know, identifying their own personal skills and experiences and assessing their personal financial resources in a real meaningful way. They actually do a spreadsheet where they assess their assets and liabilities and can kind of come up with their net worth, which is something that would be useful to them if they even were going to go to a bank. Then they go through the whole process of you know, product development and target customer identification, competition assessment, you know, picking how they're going to get their product to customers, the whole process, in order for them to ultimately, and then including obviously developing some basic financial statements, which they probably will think are not basic. They'll probably think they're complex, but, you know, well, they'll get to do like cost of goods sold worksheet. They'll be able to do sales forecasts, operating expenses, and then a profit and loss statement. And then that'll help them evaluate the feasibility of their business. And then they'll be able to take all of this data that they've accumulated for that research and to put it in a launch-oriented business plan if they deem their business to be something that's feasible. So we're really working on building this out right now and perfecting it and making sure that everything is, you know, grammatically correct and operating smoothly before we release it. But we're going to have that available now, and then everyone in your counties will have access to that. We also are hosting right now an entrepreneurship summer camp at VSU for high school honor students from all around the region and also from other places outside of the region who are thinking about coming to live in the region and attend VSU. So we're hosting that right now. And we have another entrepreneurship summer camp, but a very brief one that's only 1 week for high school students that we are planning on hosting beginning on July 29th. I have a working flyer for that one up here now, but it's called our CEO to Be Online Summer Youth Entrepreneurship Program. And it's free for the first 20 applicants. It's free for everyone that enrolls, but we're looking at a capacity of 20 enrollees. We're partnering with an organization called Girls for Change to implement it. But if you have people within your school system who have students who need a CTE credit, the curriculum that we're using will give them access to it's a software program called Ed Options Academy, which is one of the Virginia Department of Education's multi-divisional online providers. And so the students who complete the program will not only get our student small business launch certificate, but if they go ahead and finish all of the curriculum through August 30th, then they'll be able to get a high school CTE credit, obviously as long as it fits within the requirements and their guidance counselor says that it can count. But we're going to give them the transcript that would allow them to get that credit. So after this meeting, later, probably by Friday of this week or sooner, then I will get this flyer to you guys so that you could distribute it to people within your county who you think would be interested in promoting it to your students. And so really those are the main things that I wanted to talk with you guys about. Did anyone else have any specific feedback for me or for anyone else, or questions or comments? Is there anything meaningful that you'd like for us to do between now and our next meeting that is not until October?
So, Dr. Rivers, are you going to be preparing, I guess you'd mentioned best practices. Is there something is this something you would share with the group, or you would do individually for any of the local entities? Because I'd be interested
absolutely.
in seeing that as we go forward.
Right. One of the things that I had conceived of, even before we applied for this Go Virginia grant, is this State of Minority Entrepreneurship in Virginia, a sort of research project where we look at what the minority entrepreneurship participation and performance rates were based on Bureau of Labor Statistics and Census Bureau data in all of the cities and counties in the state of Virginia. And then we'd also assess what the specific programs are that they have in order to spur entrepreneurship in general, and any programs that they have to spur minority entrepreneurship. And I was gonna recommend for another grant that was not a state of Virginia grant, that we recommend the creation of that sort of a report. And so what I'd like to do for this advisory board meeting is to do that project on a smaller scale, where what we would be able to do is to have some data-driven recommendations that come from assessment of what has happened in other cities and counties with similar demographic and perhaps even geographic topographic conditions to our region, and then also look at the specific numbers and then come up with something that kind of drives strategy without us really kind of trying to feel around for strategy like we kind of are now, without it being based primarily on the data. So that was the reason why I suggested some sort of resource guide, because that resource guide would be the first step in kind of trying to assess everything that the municipalities offer. And your municipalities are three really important ones. And I could start with yours. So how did that sound to anyone? Does that sound like it would be something that you'd be interested in partnering with us to create? Because I think it would be useful for the region. Does that sound interesting at all?
Yes, and this is a two-pronged. I mean, you're looking at both folks from the outside looking to start their own business and students.
Right, because the students, they're future adults, I guess you'd say. They're adults technically at 18, but many of the students end up living and working in Virginia and in our region. So we just are kind of planting the seed with some of them, unless of course we have some high potential students that have the capacity to implement shortly after they graduate, like Bill Gates or or Mark Zuckerberg. But we're still planting the seed. I know that even when I was in college, way back at UVA, some of the things that I envisioned doing then and I learned about, and so the things I got exposed to are things that I implemented later on in life. And I think that whether we're kind of sowing a seed in the pipeline or actually helping somebody implement now, I still think that this data sort of collection is important. And I think that we'll be able to, even if we do some sort of report like this, like this collectively created report that's for the Richmond MSA or something, that we'd be able to kind of assess, how many of the students are staying here and starting businesses and creating jobs or pursuing jobs, how many are leaving. That would be an element that might not be too difficult for us to add to the research study, so it could be as meaningful as possible. But the whole purpose is pretty much just to give everyone who's interested in entrepreneurship and economic development in the region a data source in order for them to assess really what the entrepreneurship potential is, or the potential is for minority entrepreneurs in our region, and then ultimately come up with a strategy on how we can improve it. Somewhat like a report that I've seen it done in Virginia Business. You know, we subscribe to Virginia Business, and they kind of do like snapshots of each of the region's economic development potential. And this would be the same sort of report, but it will focus on the small business development potential in the region. You know, and that will be relevant to, you know, as is relevant to minority entrepreneurs, but it could, obviously what we're collecting would be useful to everyone interested in entrepreneurship. Was that too long of an answer? Was that clear?
No, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so what I'll do then is I'll summarize the notes of our meeting here, and then I will reach out later to each of you guys or to your municipalities and to whomever you'd like to refer me to in order for us to discuss how we could specifically partner with your organization if we're not already partnering with you to implement what you already envision, and perhaps some of the recommendations that we may come up with together. How does that sound?
Good.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything else to say?
Just want to tell you thanks for pulling this together and the progress that you're making on making your dream of this small business development center come true.
Okay. Well, it's our dream, so I'm excited about it. So thank you everyone for your support. And so we're really excited about this.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
everyone have a great day.
You too.
Sure, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.